Welcome back to GN Sports, brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield. Time now to talk some Southside baseball. Joining us tonight for a live Gimme 5, Josh Nelson from the Sox Machine. Josh, man, so glad that you're here. And listen, you and I were talking when you walked into the door today. You're like, sorry to come in on these circumstances. But listen, the Sox entered this season with high expectations. We've seen that over the past few years to maybe take the AL Central title. But what have you seen so far out of this ball club, and how far away are they from that dream?
So every problem they have on offense, they have the inverse problem on pitching. They have one of the lowest walk rates in Major League Baseball offensively. They have the second highest walk rate allowed on the pitching side. They're only averaging 4.2 runs per game. Their opponents are averaging 5.8 runs per game. I don't have to get into the sabermetrics to describe the problems with the Chicago White Sox, because right now it feels like a Category 5 hurricane is happening on the south side of Chicago. And the only way that you can survive a Category 5 hurricane is just go through the mess and clean up whatever is left afterwards. And that's really what it feels like with the White Sox right now. What's wrong with the White Sox? A lot of things are wrong with the White Sox. There are a few positives. Luis Robert Jr. has 11 home runs this season. He's on pace to hit 42 homers. Lucas Giolito has been pitching really well for the Chicago White Sox. Is he going to be with the White Sox on August 1st? Probably not. But that's just the way that things are going when you are 14-28 to start the season.
And when you talk about the so many problems that they have right now, and I think that's probably the most frustrating part for them, because you can't get out of a slump if everything's going wrong.
Right.
And if their offense isn't producing and they're starting pitching, to me, the starting pitching, when you guys got Lance Lynn, Dylan Cease, Michael Kopech, those guys struggling. I mean, do you think are you surprised, especially I would say with Cease and the way he started?
Yeah, because Cease had heavy expectations. You finished second in the American League Cy Young. Verlander leaves the American League to go to the New York Mets. All of a sudden, okay, Dylan Cease is the favorite. Yeah, Jacob deGrom comes to the Texas Rangers, but there's heavy expectations on Dylan Cease. Cease has pitched well against Houston, nobody else. And the fastball is a problem for Dylan Cease. It's back to 2020, if you remember, Jared. We had those questions and talked about that, where he's pulling every fastball into the left-handed batter's box. So he's got to improve the fastball mechanics. This is something pitching coach Ethan Katz has said, that he's opened up too much. So when he's opened up too much, he pulls the fastball, and it's nowhere near where he wants to be. Lance Lynn, here's a stat for you. When there are runners on base, opposing teams are hitting .420 against Lance Lynn when he's in the stretch, as you see here in the highlight. .420. I can't even begin to describe on how terrible that is. And what happens to Lance Lynn in his last start, he gives up 4 runs in the first inning, and you're thinking, there's no way he's going to get through 3. Well, then he gets into the 5th inning. It's like, how did you get there? Well, he pitches some clean innings, so if he can stay in the windup, he's fine. But as soon as the walks compile for Lance Lynn, he gets into trouble because he just doesn't have the same type of velocity when he's pitching out of the stretch. So that's another mechanics issue, but he's 37 years old. So how do you fix that?
That's what I was going to say, though, Josh. Okay, 37. If you had to not worry about one of these starting pitchers, I think a lot of people are panicking for Dylan Cease because of the expectations. But don't you think he's going to find a way to change those things you were talking about, to be able to fix those mechanics so he can get back to it? Maybe a guy like Lance Lynn, he might be cooked already. It might be done.
If the White Sox had more starting pitching depth in AAA, which they don't, because they don't have enough starting pitchers to get through a week right now. That's the injury bug goes all the way through the minor league system as well for the Chicago White Sox. Lance Lynn could be Dallas Keuchel'd, not to use Dallas Keuchel as an adjective, but he could have been DFA'd because he has a $1 million club option for next year, or it's $18 million the White Sox could pick up. There's no way the White Sox are picking up that $18 million option right now. So he'd be easy to cut for $1 million. With Dylan Cease, there should be some optimism because he did pitch well in his last start against Houston. The slider is still effective. He just needs to be more closed when he is delivering the fastball. And if he can get his fastball more into the strike zone, like he did against Houston, where it was about 55% of the time in the strike zone, then his slider plays up, and he's the Dylan Cease that everyone is expecting.
You know what, Sharky? I can't deal with all this negative vibes right now. Can we go positive? Can I just bring some positive up?
Yeah.
Luis Robert Jr., man's having a great May, ain't he?
I was going to go that or Liam Hendriks. It's both positive storylines.
Yeah, so with Robert, a couple weeks ago, we were asking ourselves, what the heck is going on? Because he got benched, right, for not hustling down to first base. He's cutting off teammates on fly balls to left and right field. Whatever Pedro Grifol and the coaching staff did to talk to Luis Robert, to get him back on the path, obviously is working. And what we are seeing from Luis Robert in May is why White Sox fans were hyped up about the rebuild in the first place when they signed him, because he is one of these special talents where he's a gold glove in center field and he can run. But the power that we're seeing, his career high in a single season is 13 home runs. He already has 11. But the more important stat, the last time I was with you, Jared, on this show, he has played 40 of the 42 games for the White Sox this year. That is great progress, because you can't say the same about Tim Anderson, you can't say the same about Yohan Moncada, and you can't say the same about Eloy Jimenez. But at least Luis Robert right now is in the lineup every single day, and he's red hot.
And when you talk about who's in the lineup, who's not in the lineup, the injuries that they've dealt with, that no longer, to me, unless they are injuries where these are long-term guys haven't been able to play, that cannot be an excuse at this point in the season, this early in the season, for why this team is not producing. So when you add it all up and you look and you see Tim Anderson maybe or maybe not saying that he hates this place, and you wonder if the morale has changed inside the clubhouse, and you think to yourself, it's the middle of May, who needs to be held accountable? How do you kind of galvanize this group, because everything they've tried isn't working?
And you have a new manager, right? A rookie manager who's never been a manager before, and his first quarter of the season, they're 14-28. I put the onus on the players here. They have to step up. In the history of Chicago sports, where is this White Sox team going to rank in one of the most disappointing ever to play in this city? It's up there because there was so much hype. They were supposed to follow the Chicago Cubs in having this long contention window. And all they got is 2 playoff wins. They're 2-5 in playoff games and 1 division title, and they finished 81-81 last year. To put in the short term, as Pedro Grifol likes to think, in 7 to 10 days, we need to see more life from Tim Anderson and Andrew Benintendi. Both guys don't have a home run right now for the season. I am worried about Anderson because he made a comment that he's grinding and he had that knee injury. Does he have his legs? Is he playing at 80 or 85%? If he doesn't have his lower half, then he's not going to hit for power. Andrew Benintendi, I don't want to make fun of the guy, but he must be swinging with a balsa wood bat right now. There's just no power. There's no exit velocity. And he is the highest paid free agent in White Sox history. And he has like no life in the bat. So to put in the short term, in the next 2 to 4 weeks, everyone across Major League Baseball, especially looking at Tim Anderson as maybe a trade candidate, need to see more life from Tim Anderson, but they also need to see more life from Benintendi.
All right, I got to give you a pound on I hate this place, because that was awesome.
I don't want to put words in his mouth.
You didn't answer something that we both kind of asked you about Liam Hendriks. I want to know, do Sox fans need to be patient a little bit? Because everybody wants Liam to come back, but I think we also have to understand this is a process for him.
And he's being honest.
Yeah, Liam Hendriks has been honest, and when he has spoken to the media in Charlotte, he's made it very clear, this is spring training for me. His first outing, his average fastball velocity was 93, and his latest outing is 95. That's good progress. But looking at his StatCast numbers when he was healthy, even dealing with the cancer last year, or the cancer symptoms, he was throwing 97 and 98 miles per hour. I would hate for the White Sox to rush Liam Hendriks back and have the fanfare and him to trot out, throw 94, 95, and get blitzed. Like, that would just add into a miserable feeling that's already the 2023 season. So if Liam is telling the White Sox, I need another week, the White Sox have to give him another week. If the White Sox need bullpen help, Garrett Crochet, their 2020 first-round picks, throwing 97, 98, he looks strong right now. So if they need someone to help out in the bullpen in the next couple of weeks, call up Garrett Crochet. They can call him up as soon as tomorrow against the Cleveland Guardians, because Aaron Bummer is having a world of difficulty right now coming out of the bullpen. So the White Sox could use some more life, especially from the lefty. So I think we're going to see Garrett Crochet first. To see Liam Hendriks recover from stage 4 cancer and go through chemotherapy, and for him to return to play Major League Baseball in June is incredible. So I would caution the White Sox to be patient with Liam. He is progressing, but he's not all the way there yet.
Yeah, and the fact that he was honest about saying, I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be put out there and like they have to baby me, so to speak,
Right.
and not be prepared. But it's also, like you mentioned, when your bullpen's also not performing well, you're anxious to get your all-star closer back in the game, but they have to teeter this line of understanding what he's been through and not rushing the process because, I mean, what have you thought of the bullpen so far this season?
It's the second worst in Major League Baseball. I mean, only the Oakland A's have a worse bullpen, so yeah, it's going great. Yeah.
Dude, Josh, you're the best, man.
Thanks for entertaining us through the pain.
You brought life into the show. We appreciate you for coming on.
Absolutely.
Man.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll try to keep that same energy. By the Number is coming up next. Bulls Edition. Don't go anywhere. It's coming up next here on GN Sports.